Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain.
Hey guys, and welcome in. Welcome to Friday Night Live. I don't know what's going on with my cheek there, but looks like I've been crying. But I haven't. But I haven't. My eye was just watering. But welcome in, everybody. Yeah, of course. Okay, I was just reading the chat a little bit. But welcome in. It's good to see you guys. It is Friday, the 25th of April, and we are going to be continuing our coverage of the Idaho 4 and the interviews of with the victims and the victims' families, I should say. But we're going to welcome some people in. We'll see if some people will kind of jump in the chat tonight, and we'll see what everyone's kind of up to. Let me know if you guys have any awesome weekend plans. I know Mary Beth's excited because it's the weekend. I know she's a Monday through Friday gal. Hey, Cyber Warrior. Hey, Mary Beth. Thank you for gifting a membership, Mary Beth. I don't know who it went to, but welcome on in. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Michael. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Crafty One. Thank you, Be Happy. Now and I can see in the DAX was gifted. And Carrie, I can try to pull up the comments and read them for you. Hey, Dawn. Just saying hello. Hey, Ashley, welcome in. ADM. Listening and cooking. Sounds good. Having a late dinner tonight. I don't even think we ate dinner tonight. Nope, we didn't. Well, I wasn't hungry. I was like not very hungry today. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, my name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. Thanks for joining me tonight. I do appreciate it. Like I said, we are going to go over and continue our coverage of the Idaho 4. The victims' families have come out and they've done a lot of interviews over the last, almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in November. So we've been going back through and just kind of reviewing those and just seeing what we hear, if we hear anything differently than what we heard before. So we started with Ethan Chapin, then we went to Xana, Maddie, and now we're working on Kaylee. And there's just more interviews coming out. So tonight we're going to stick with the interviews, going in chronological order like we have been. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to do like a case recap because we did go over documents last night and there was a lot of information out of there that was new. And I want to go back over that stuff and talk with you about that stuff. And then also Steve did do an interview. I'm going to watch it tomorrow, take some notes and see what all is new in that interview. So we're going to start off tonight with, on this live, with NewsNation, and this is going to be from January the 2nd. So I went back through and I was like double checking my work, and we were on like January the 8th, and there was a couple interviews that I missed. So I wanted to go and make sure that you saw them all, and then we'll watch the one that Chronicles of Olivia did with Steve and Christy and Olivia. We'll go over that one tonight. So that one was a really good interview. So these are all going to be after Bryan Kohberger was arrested. You'll be able to tell that they are a little more refreshed. You can see that there's like been a weight lifted a little bit off of their shoulders in a way. But it says here, Kaylee Goncalves' father speaks after accused Idaho killer's arrest. And I know one of these, they don't have him actually like on it, but they do talk to him on the phone.
Nicole Burley, it is Monday, January 2nd. This is NewsNation Rush Hour.
Thank you for being here.
With some brand new details in the shocking arrest and the quadruple murder of 4 college students that's gripped the country. We've been covering it closely from Moscow since the very beginning. And then that major breaking news Friday, an arrest in the case 47 days later. Bryan Kohberger, a graduate student studying criminology at Washington State University, just a 10-minute drive from the University of Idaho campus. He was taken into custody in Pennsylvania. His extradition hearing is scheduled for tomorrow. And we're learning more about his studies under a serial killer expert and a treasure trove of evidence from his apartment. But first, and new just into our newsroom, the father of one of the victims, Kaylee Goncalves, breaking his silence on this arrest to senior national correspondent Brian Enton, who joins us live from Pennsylvania. So, Brian, what did he tell you?
Yeah, Nicole, I just wrapped up this conversation with Kaylee's dad, Stephen. Still heartbroken, but said initially when they learned about the arrest, they were the first to learn about it from police late Thursday night that the arrest was going to happen. They felt some relief. They even felt joy to a certain extent. But now the feeling is just being overwhelmed, knowing that the court process is about to begin and that they are going to see the accused killer face to face. Accused Idaho killer Bryan Kohberger could be in Idaho as early as tomorrow night after a hearing in Pennsylvania where Kohberger is expected not to fight his extradition.
There's going to be somebody there looking him in the face and letting him know that this isn't going away anytime soon. This is just the beginning. Victim Kaylee Goncalves' father, Steve, says they are looking for connections between Kohberger and Kaylee and the other victims. I'm biased, but if you got to know my daughter, I would think it'd be impossible for you to hurt her. So I think a little bit of us all kind of felt like this was somebody who didn't have a chance to meet her, talk to her, get to know her, because she was a very likable person and she didn't have a mean bone in her body. So I think there's a little comfort in knowing that this person wasn't somebody she trusted and loved.
Kohberger's public defender tells NewsNation in mid-December Bryan's dad drove back with him from Pullman, Washington to Monroe County, Pennsylvania in the white Hyundai Elantra police have been looking for. His attorney says Kohberger is eager to be exonerated. I'm a reporter.
Get off my property. It's private property.
Kohberger's family did not answer when I went to their house where he was arrested, but released a statement through the public defender saying they are cooperating with law enforcement. And first and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children.
I forgot he spoke to him through the door. I forgot about Brian Enton doing that. I don't know how he snuck into that place because it's supposed to be a gated community, but I mean, you know, he did. And their property is set back from the road too. Like you got to I don't know, to be a reporter, you got to be ballsy. You do. You got to be ballsy. Like he wanted to get the story. So he was all about, you know, walking up to that door that just been blown in the night before. Oh my goodness. And then the dad says, "This private property." I mean, after what I just experienced, I'd probably be yelling too. Oh, thank you. Be happy for gifting out 5 memberships. Happy Friday. That's what Tony said. Hey, Tony. Welcome in, everybody.
Children. There are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel, and we pray each day for them. We will continue to let the legal process unfold, and as a family, we will love and support our son and brother. Before moving to Washington State University to get his PhD, Kohberger got his master's from DeSales University in Pennsylvania. NewsNation has obtained this photo of Kohberger taken during a group project at DeSales University in 2019. Students who studied with him tell NewsNation they've been told to only talk to police because they could potentially be called as character witnesses in the case. They did say he was, quote, controlling during the group project. What do you make, Steve, of the fact that, you know, he was getting his PhD in criminal justice and had his master's in criminology, and sort of had this knowledge of the way the system works?
I feel like he definitely was into this type of thing. He had made a lifetime commitment to, you know, wrapping himself into crime and solving crime and figuring out how people got caught, interviewing people, doing different things that a normal student wouldn't be so interested in. So I think he maybe got a little overconfident and didn't realize that there really is no perfect way to commit a crime.
Okay, so tomorrow Kohberger will be in court in the courthouse behind me here in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. We expect him to waive his extradition hearing, and he could be on his way back to Idaho as early as tomorrow afternoon. Nicole?
All right, so Bryan, you've also been digging into Kohberger's connection to a well-known serial killer.
Yeah, this is a crazy connection, Nicole. Basically, Kohberger's professor at DeSales University here in Pennsylvania is the pretty much preeminent expert on the serial killer BTK. Interviewed him, had a number of intimate interviews with BTK, the serial killer, over the course of about 10 years, and then wrote the autobiography on BTK for BTK. BTK's daughter is speaking exclusively with us about this connection and even questioning whether Kohberger may have been corresponding with her father in prison. You're going to hear that exclusive interview coming up in about 30 minutes.
Oh, I forgot she did that interview. Okay. I was trying to hurry and switch it so it wouldn't go to the next video. Hey, CJK. Hey, get to the ducking point. I love that name. It makes me laugh every time I say it, especially if I'm reading names, because then I'm like, get to the ducking point. That one was from the 2nd of January. So that one was, you know, pretty, it was a couple days after he's arrested. This next one is going to be from the 3rd. So they were doing some interviews, it looks like, making the rounds, you know, getting their voices heard. So I'll start playing this and then I'll turn it up like so it's not like really loud in your ear. But if you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button. I'd love to have you do that. And this one is just another reaction video to Bryan Kohberger's arrest.
Right now, the 28-year-old suspect in the murders of the 4 Idaho college students waived extradition today in Pennsylvania and will be brought right to Moscow, Idaho to face charges. Joining us now are the parents of victim Kaylee Goncalves. Steve and Christy Goncalves are with us along with their attorney, Shannon Gray. You know, Steve, I look at you as a father, I look at your bride next to you, and I've thought this all throughout my life that there's nothing worse than losing a child. It's taken a long time. First of all, does that give you any peace of mind? Do you want to know details? Where are you in this grieving process? I would imagine that's not something you get over.
Honestly, I feel a little bit lucky knowing that we have somebody and there's a person of interest. Nothing feels worse than having nobody and just nothing but doubt. And 7 weeks of that, or close to 7 weeks of that, was a tremendous amount of pressure on us. And, You know, your children look for you to tell them what's going to happen and how things are going to go. And you can't control anything, and you just sit back and you just wait. And it's very hard to get over.
And Christy, you're a mom. This is your precious, your beautiful daughter, and you will never see her again. I can't imagine all the pain you're going through as a mom.
It's terrible, just as anybody could imagine. It's just like a nightmare that you just never, ever wake up from. There's not a second throughout the day that I don't think about Kaylee and what happened to her. It's sickening.
You know, Steve, it took the law enforcement a while. It looks like they got they went very deep, and they were very creative, and they looked at databases, and they were able to match DNA from a database, which I think was pretty sophisticated investigating on their part. How do you feel the police have handled all of this?
Well, there's a lot of pressure even for them. I think that, you know, it's never fast enough for a father. You're impatient and you want to know everything right then and there, but I feel good. I feel like they've done a tremendous job. I know that they have been working hard. We just had a lot of holidays. These guys were working out of town. I really appreciate all the effort that they gave. I mean, there was times where I was tough on them, but I know these are strong men and women, and I know they can handle just a little bit of pushback, and we are where we want to be, and they've put us there.
Christy, I know for myself, I have 2 kids. If this ever happened to me, I can't put myself in your shoes. You can't really understand unless you go through something like that. What would you like, assuming there's a guilty verdict in this case, the murderer of your daughter? What do you think a just punishment is?
Well, considering that this person went in there that night with the intent to kill and showed no mercy, unprovoked, and killed our daughter, her best friend, and their 2 friends, we are glad that we live in the state of Idaho with the death penalty.
Shannon, we'll give you the last word as the lawyer from the legal side. You know that the evidence that they have, you know more probably than the public. Where do you see it going?
Well, we're looking forward to the probable cause affidavit and seeing what information they have in that affidavit. It won't show the entire case, obviously, but will give us an idea of what hard evidence they have towards the defendant in this case. And we're hopeful that it's strong. And moving forward, you know, we're just the beginning of the criminal justice system. So it's still a long haul from here, but we're hopeful and optimistic.
All right, Shannon, thank you. Steve and Christy, I'm so sorry. And I know I speak for my entire audience when I say that you're in our prayers. This is a heartbreaking story, and I hope he gets the justice he deserves. Thank you both.
Wouldn't it be the justice that they get, that like the victims get, not the justice that the killer would get? I don't know. The way he said that was kind of a little strange, but no problem, Aries. Welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you guys. And it's Friday, so I didn't know if everybody would be busy with weekend plans or not, you know. But I'm going to go ahead and play this next one. So, okay. First one we played was from January 2nd. Second one was from January the 3rd. And now we're up to January 6th. And he goes, and Mr. Goncalves goes back over to Cuomo over at NewsNation to talk to them. Now, I think they had I don't know, I feel like they had a certain group of people that they were giving interviews to. And I think that those were the people that were keeping the information like out there the most, if that makes sense. And this one is about 4 minutes, 47 seconds long.
Kaylee Goncalves. This is Steve Goncalves. And I think Shannon Gray, his attorney, who we've had on the show a couple of times, is around also. It's good to see you, counselor. Now, he looks a lot different, in my opinion now. I think that looks like he's aged a little.
Thanks.
Stephen, I'm very sorry to meet you under these circumstances. I really feel for your family. I've been watching you and reading your words and talking with your attorney. I know what this has been like on your family. And first and foremost, how's everybody doing?
It's hard to get a grasp. Today we have a basketball game to go to. My youngest daughter will be playing basketball today. So after I'm done with this, we'll be in a gym and cheering her on and hoping that they win another game.
What is normal now? Where is your head and heart in terms of how you process how to feel?
I don't know what normal is. We're trying to figure that out. Me, my wife, and the children. You know, we just try to do the normal things, go to dinner and, you know, have some time, spend together, play some board games, just do things that, you know, Kaylee loved when she was here. And we're a big family, so we enjoy our company, and there's usually 2 or 3 friends spend the night. So we just try to stay busy. I think it's hardest when you have idle time in mind. That's when it starts hitting you the worst.
There was such urgency to find who did this. How did it hit you once they did? When you saw the face, when you saw the name, what did it mean?
It was a chapter. It was like, all right, this is how I planned it. We were going to get this guy, and I wanted to get him faster. You know, obviously everyone tells you time's an essence. So the longer you feel, the more dread you have, and the more pressure you feel that you need to do something, because things don't happen on their own. But I mean, I knew I had a lot of officers and a lot of agents working on this case, and I just try to sit back and give them time, and then keep my family stable.
I know you guys have been concerned about communication and how they were doing the job and the intensity. Did not just the arrest, but the affidavit allay your fears that these guys were up to the job, the level of detail, the legwork?
Yeah, definitely. If I would have had a tenth of that, I would have not stressed so much, and I think my wife as well. But it's not really about me. It's about justice, and it's about all the families being able to make sure that they get that justice. So, you know, unfortunately, you have to suffer. You know, you have to go through some heartache, and you have to just put your trust in a group of other people. That's not easy for me. I'm a self-control kind of guy. I want to be able to go and do it and not be a victim and not blame others. I want to take an active role. But in this case, that was all I was given. We were active and we helped, but you still got to trust the system. And in the long run, we got what we were looking for. And that affidavit's very impressive, and there's a lot of evidence there.
It's very impressive. What else is it to be the father of a young woman who was stolen by this guy? When you read it, what was its impact on you?
It's hard. I mean, there's parts you just don't want to read. You don't want to think about why he would say some of the words that he said. You know, the eyewitness overhearing him talk, it enrages you to the point where you want to do something stupid. So I try to I stop, and then I go back later on when I have a fresh mind, and then I can go back and look at it again. And then
I'm assuming he's referring to whenever he says, "I'm here to help you," you know, for someone to do that. Thanks, Montachi. Thanks, Mary Beth.
Absorb what's in there, but I can't do it all at once.
Is this the guy you imagined?
No, I thought he would be much more, you know, bigger and more of a monster, obviously, and have those key looks of somebody who couldn't get along with girls, and this was like his only option or something. He just looked like a normal guy that when it stood up in any room or any party, you wouldn't, just by the looks of him, you wouldn't realize that he had that going through his head.
I was gonna say something about the button, but then I forgot when I paused it the last time. I was gonna ask you, as like you all, as if there's men in here, or even women, I guess, how can you guys do the top button? I worked in serving for years and years and years, and they would make us do the tippy top, but they would make us do like the top one, like second down from the top, and that would choke me. Like I'm like pulling it, and I was trying to, like, you know, do one more button to not get caught and not get in trouble. But yeah, ooh, it has it in this one too. I think it's all of his shirts. He's like that. I would feel like I couldn't breathe. I was watching this again earlier. Okay. So if you guys don't know a little bit of background story, I guess I can go on their Facebook. Maybe I think that's where the pictures are. So Olivia, Chronicles of Olivia is a creator on the platform, and she used to team up with Bullhorn Betty, and they ended up getting the interview with the Goncalves family. And I believe that they say that more or less it was because Kaylee was into true crime, and Olivia was someone that she either followed on YouTube or on TikTok, one of the two platforms she followed her. So I think that the family felt more comfortable reaching out and, giving her that first interview and doing the documentary. Even Betty's tolerable in this interview. I know that's going to be hard to believe for some of y'all, but she asks some good questions. So they did the interview, and then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, 3 years later, come down the line, a few days ago, we find out that Olivia, not Olivia, Kaylee's sister, but Chronicles of Olivia, is dating Steve Jr., which is, of course, Steve and Christy's son. I was going to see if there was any. Let me see. I was going to see if I could find the picture. They added a bunch of new pictures, so. Okay. So this is a picture of all them, and it says, "Had fun with some friends and family. It feels good to be surrounded by love." And I think it's adorable. Good for them. Finding their happy ending, hopefully. So, no, Ladybug. Hey, princess. I think what was it? Her granddaughter is graduating from college. So I think that's what she says she might be doing. It is. How much the family knew and never said. Yeah, that's why I like going back over these two, Tony. I catch like little things here and there, But this one is a really good documentary. I thought it was done very well. They do share a lot of memories of Kaylee, and they get to sit back for the first time, I feel like, in any interview or documentary that they were in. They were 100% like they could be themselves. They were more relaxed because they were in their home. I don't know. Even the ones that they did in their home with other people. I don't know. I like this one. I will say that. So I'm going to put this link in the chat if anyone wants to watch this again or whatever. It'll be there for you. And before I started, if you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and we'll play this. And I'm going to pause it here and there for commentary, but it is a really sweet video.
Something bad happened to Kaylee. Something bad happened. And, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she's like, I think Kaylee's dead.
She had an interaction with a date.
Don't let it die.
You need to be vocal. We went and investigated Adam. Adam is about her.
Half of it, like they almost like became to us like two halves of a whole.
On December 28th, 2 days before the suspect was arrested, my friend Bullhorn Betty and I had the honor of meeting the Goncalves family.
If you guys know anything, please contact the tip line. It's important. If you live in the area and have anything.
They welcomed us into their home.
I hate having the date of death on there. So. It was a scavenger hunt. Getting frustrated, don't blow a gasket, head to the link to get your Easter basket. She did a, yeah.
It must have been that year that they dressed up in the bunny costume. It was Jack. dressed up in that bunny costume when my kids came over.
And Kaylee hopped off down the street in the bunny suit.
Yeah.
And she still had her dark hair. Yeah, the years just fly by, and but that's.
I'm just going to interrupt it for a second. They actually just told that story on their Facebook again. I think it was for Easter, about Kaylee dressing up in a bunny costume for her youngest brother and sister and hopping up through the driveway, like to the front door, and giving them some stuff. I don't know, maybe their Easter baskets, and then hopping away. I think that's really nice of a big sister to do that.
Her only family photo.
Their daughter, Kaylee Goncalves, followed me on TikTok and shared my videos with her family, which is why her father, Steve, reached out to me a few weeks ago. This interview is bittersweet and personal. Well, thank you for having us. We're very honored, and we're very sorry for your loss, and we want to help in any way we can. And I think telling Kaylee's story is profound, and I think that's really important.
Giving her humanity, giving her
and humanizing her story.
her.
What was Kaylee like as a child?
She was very rambunctious. She just was full of energy. She was the middle of 5, so 2 older, 2 younger. Olivia was the oldest, and just was constantly trying to keep up with the elders, and then be a little boss hog for the littles. She was the fair police. Nothing got past her. If there was, a $200 pair of shoes that she wanted when school started, and we had school close by for everybody, it was like, Kaylee, you got to bring that down a little. We have 5 kids to buy for. You might as well just buy them for her now, because she would just nag you to death until you just buy them, and the other kids would be like, wow, we got like she was a total hustler though. Yeah, she was.
Where she would be like, Mom, can I, mop the floors for $5? And Mom would be like, yeah, that's a super good deal. And so she kind of got this name about herself growing up, where she was the cleaner, right? So Kaylee was the one who was like she was known, where she knew that if she, before Mom and Dad got home or whatever, did the dishes, wiped the counters, swept the floors, and mopped, Dad was gonna give her 20, and she was gonna beat you to do it. And I got to the point where my brother and I didn't even try anymore, because we were just like, Kaylee's gonna do it anyway. Because she was just a hustler like that. Because even before, now she was into, obviously her Range Rover, she's really proud of that. Her designer clothes, stuff like that. That was just who she was. But it started with Claire's, with hair accessories, and then it was Bath and Body Works, and she was collecting the scents and the little hand sanitizers.
Everything was a competition.
Everything was a competition, and it was.
Woke up after playing a video game with her, and she was still playing it. He was like, "I'm in trouble." This girl wants it more than me. She wants it more than me.
It seems like she was starting from a very young age.
She had 2 older brothers. Bryce was just right there.
Her cousin grew up very close.
So she thought she could be as fast as them. She could ride the bike.
Always wanted to race them. Wanted to ride the motorcycle.
We would go out on the lake with the boat. My parents had a boat. We would go out, and my dad would say $5 to whoever is the first in the water for the season, right? And it was cold. It's probably about 59 degrees by the time we're going out. Kaylee was. It was $5. It was $5. It was $5, and she would do it for $5. She jumps into that water. She instantly pops her head up and is bawling. Just bawling. It was that cold. But she couldn't let the boys beat her. She couldn't let me beat her. No. She couldn't let anyone beat her. She was it was definitely the financial motivation, as well as her just being like, I'm gonna be number 1. Yeah. There was this big pole in the lake, and you could kind of climb up it. It was a little rickety, but you could get to the top and you could jump in. I was always too scared to do it. Kaylee was like, she watched Steven do it, the boy. I was like, I'm not doing that. And I was like, Kaylee, don't do it, Kaylee, no. And she was like, I'm not scared, Olivia. You're just being a baby for being scared. And she climbed her ass up that pole, and she jumped off. And it was tall.
We have pictures of her.
He was rooting. He's like, don't look down, because I told the kids,
don't look down, Kaylee.
You'll do a face plant.
It was tall. Yeah. So it was my idea. My mom she had Autumn, who's the 4th baby, and she was pregnant with Aubrey, who was the 5th. So she was upstairs taking a nap. And my dad.
Can we talk about Steve's haircut right here with the bowl cut looking haircut? If they show this picture again and they show his head, I mean, we got to have that hairstyle may have a comeback. It's got to have a comeback.
I was still at work and, I was kind of just watching my little siblings. We were all just hanging out. I had an idea that we had a double garage and it was an automatic door. And I don't know why, but I got this idea that we should have a competition and see who could hold on to the garage door as it went up the longest. And then you would drop. And so we were doing this. We had a whole setup. At one point, my brother was like, we need a washcloth. This is cutting my hands, right? That should have been our notion to stop, right? I should have known better. But we all got so competitive about it. So by the time my dad, drove up home.
And the kids are hanging on the garage.
That's been going nonstop for 40 minutes.
Up and down.
Oh my God. Just the little garage engine that could. And this garage door, if they had come crying, that was probably 250 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Would have crushed us. It was the only time.
Here it is. Look at this hair. Okay, we need the mustache too. We need this whole look.
Dad actually got mad at us and we were in trouble. And I remember Stephen and I we were upset. We were we disappointed our dad, right? We were so sad. And Kaylee just kind of wasn't. We thought that was all weird until my dad kind of realized him just being disappointed wasn't enough for Kaylee. A total little prankster, but we were all pranksters. Mom and I would prank the shit out of Kaylee all the time. We
That's
just
the way
didn't
I raised you
matter.
guys. I raised you guys to be interesting like that.
She really didn't do any major sports or anything like that.
Yeah.
She definitely, we all did baseball. She was on the same team as my brother actually. But she didn't do that for long. She wanted to do soccer for a minute, Dad, but I think she just did a soccer camp for summer and she was out of that. But she never did the cheerleading.
Softball for a year.
Yeah, she did the team.
Well, I was wondering because you guys were talking about the competitiveness, and I'm thinking,
She was born that way,
Yeah.
honestly. She really just, I remember the day Kaylee was born. I'm about 5 years older than Kaylee, so I must have been around 4 or 5, but I remember the day Kaylee was born.
Best part about the story is when kid actually gets in trouble.
Yes. So Kaylee was clear.
Here's the truth. I whipped her ass successful.
Oh yeah, we got spanked.
You're always gonna be I literally see my kids dying in front of my eyes, and I ran up and I was like,
What are you guys doing?
And they're like,
It's so fun, Dad.
we're gonna do it again. I'm like, no, you're not. You just basically give me the worst dad award ever. My kids are gonna die from a driveway.
So we go inside.
They get weapons.
Dad's mad. Stephen and I are just blubbering messes. Our dad's mad at us.
Stone-faced.
And Kaylee's just stone-faced. And we're like, this is weird, right?
Kaylee cried.
My dad notices and he clicks. Something clicks with him and he goes, by the way, Kaylee, I'm not taking you to Claire's tonight. And she dropped to her knees and started bawling because for her, give her any corporal punishment. Tell her you're disappointed in her. Tell her, that was a bad move. But don't take Claire's at the time.
Not going to the mall. Not taking you to the mall.
Yeah, she wasn't going to the mall, and that was it. She had already planned her next outfit. The next day around that Claire's accessory she was gonna get. I don't know, but
She wound up getting it all.
she did. She actually did.
I did a lot of chores.
She did a lot of chores. I was like, all right, let me finagle my way out of this. What if I ironed your shirts? Yeah.
I once got ungrounded for eating. We got grounded for stealing the car. We were 15. We just took it around the block. We didn't steal it, but we did. We pulled in behind my parents. I got ungrounded by cleaning my room. I was supposed to be grounded for 3 weeks. That night I was ungrounded. My dad was like, clean your room. Okay. He's Southern-ish.
I'm so sorry. Can I watch the boat?
Do you remember the first time the girls met? I know you said they met each other in the 6th grade, but do you guys remember that event when they met? Like when she came home and first told you about her friend
These girls
Maddie?
definitely know that. Talk about how conservative and how.
Maddie's, we had been hearing about Maddie, her new friend that she'd met at her new junior high and whatnot, which was at the school they met at. And, but for Maddie to come over, her mom wanted the whole phone call and whatnot, and I wanted to meet them in person and all that. And I was very much so a little bit I don't know, I was just very sure you can go. I mean, maybe a quick phone call, but I mean, she wanted it, her mom wanted to meet us, her dad wanted to meet us in person and be come into the house. And we were like, she wants to come into the house? Oh my goodness. Yeah, they want to like have a sit down just for their kid to come over for a couple hours. She's not even staying the night, you know? It took forever. She used to come over after school all the time, but every time they would walk her in, they would say, how's it going? You know, hello, you know, this, that. Her dad would, or they would call. And then it finally started getting to the calls. I'm like, well, we're getting a little better. Now we just get the call like somebody's going to be there the whole time, right? Maybe 3 hours, you're going to be there.
Baby.
You know, and Maddie just fit right in with us. I mean, she just absolutely just.
Yeah, that was it. School started in August, and it was September that Maddie started coming over, and that was it. You know, that was
like spend the night
all the time, and then it got to where she just would spend the night. Kaylee would spend the night over there. I mean, it didn't matter if it was a school night or not. The thing with Maddie was she was kind to the little sisters. You know, we had two, and they loved her so much, and she would play with them. Like not a lot of your older friends, because they were pretty, you know, they were like, you know, they're brats, you know. But she really embraced Autumn and Aubrey and Olivia. You know, Olivia loved her, and she just you know, and Steven. She was kind of Steven, and
the family.
Yeah,
they were totally like yin and yang, where they were such opposites of each other, but it just worked so well together. Where it was like half of the, like they almost like became to us like two halves to a whole, you know, where it was like, yes, Kaylee is my sister and Maddie is my sister, but like it's Kaylee and Maddie. Like as strange as that sounds, it was,
one had no patience, the other one had all the patience.
You know, they would balance each other in just like
every
the
vacation
most
we went on.
Beautiful way.
We wound up being able, Karen wound up letting us take Maddie out of the country. We took her to Belize, and we took her to Cozumel, and we went to Grand Cayman Islands, and Maddie was with us. Karen took the girls to Hawaii on a girls trip.
Swears that was the best trip she's ever been on.
We're like, we
everyone
did here, and here, but
she said Hawaii, Maui specifically.
Stateside, so you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's
she's a bad trip with Maddie, and they just
some of the best memories of her life.
They had other friends, you know. They were in a group of bigger friends, but it was always Kaylee and Maddie, you know.
Yeah.
Always, you know. There was a couple other friends.
It was like this like ebb and flow, where it was like, you know, they were always together, but like there was always room for others because they really were sisters. You know, it wasn't like this competition between them of this best friend slot. Like that was always a given, and they really were just kind of combined, I guess, in a way that was more complex than a friendship. Yeah. So it was like you'll see a lot of pictures of Kaylee with other people, or Maddie, or I've seen a lot of people say, well, how close could they be if they were in different sororities? And that was just
hard. That was hard for them.
It was
because they both went and rushed to get an AV house, and Kaylee got in and Maddie did not, and she wound up in Pi Phi. But it was really good.
It was so good for them
because they really did live their lives a little bit different, separately for those couple of years. Even though the houses were right around the corner for each other, there was a lot of devotion that you had to put within those houses, within those groups of girls and stuff. So Maddie made a ton of new friends, and Kaylee made a ton of new friends, and I mean they still spoke a lot, you know, but came home every time together. They would drive back together, like
vacations were
like
together,
sisters. Where it's like,
you know, Mexico and stuff.
How it was, you know, like.
And then Kaylee moved in with Maddie. They moved out of their sorority houses a couple of years ago. And Maddie moved into that house, and Kaylee had moved into an apartment. And then last June, Kaylee moved in to Maddie's house.
A lot of people, I think, don't realize, but Kaylee was just about to graduate.
Kaylee did graduate.
She did. She was fully graduated.
It wasn't a fake.
She was done.
She was done.
Yeah, it wasn't given posthumously. She earned that.
Yeah.
She earned it, and that was really frustrating for us because it's almost like she knew she only had a certain amount of time on this planet, and she was rushing through it as fast as she could.
She always did summer school and whatnot, so she just told me, you know, a few weeks before that she was going to be graduating in December, and she goes, I don't know who I want, though. I just might just get my degree, and I'm like, well, let us know, you know, because
but I was proud of her to be like, I don't need the attention.
And then
I've earned it, and I've earned it fast, and I'm ready to just move on with my life. And I was like, that's how we look at life. You know, it's not about the celebration; it's about just moving on to the next step. And gosh, it would have been just an amazing citizen for our country. The person that would would show everyone, like, you can come from anything and do anything and just work hard and be a success. And that's such a good positive message, and we lost that, and that's really hard for us.
Yeah, and she just bought that Range Rover, and you guys must have been so proud.
2 days before.
I wanted her to buy something more reliable.
Yeah, I wanted
As a dad, I was like, no.
She was looking at a few cars, and I said, get the Mercedes, get the Subaru. I said, but do not get that Range Rover, Kaylee. And she goes, I know, Olivia, but the name. And I said, it's gonna be nothing but problems for you. I tried to talk her out of it, and then my mom actually went to call me. She goes, she got the Range Rover, and I was like, well, I'm proud of her. I was like, I'm just gonna bite my tongue. I'm proud of her.
She did it all on her own, and she called Maddie. It was really funny. She goes, Mom, I just called Maddie, and she had been like back and forth for days. This one. She goes, I asked Maddie, so which one do you think I bought? And Maddie said, I don't know, Kaylee, probably a Ferrari at this point. And she goes, so she has no idea. She has no, and she goes, I'm just gonna surprise her. She's like, she's really gonna, and I'm like, she's gonna be surprised. It's nice. It is really nice.
But she worked for everything, right? Like she had her full-time job. It was technically an internship, but it was paid. I helped her negotiate a better rate on it. And then, she got a full-time position with that company as well. I helped her write her email to her boss. I still have it in my notes on my phone. Where I said, hi, Jeremiah. I said, hey, Jeremiah, I'd like to talk to you, but it's so proud of her. And like, she always did that. Like even as a kid, even with Claire, she always worked for it. She never had anything handed to her, anything like that. She always had the support of her family, but.
She called me and was like, Dad, do I sound stupid in this proposal? And I'm like, well, pitch it to me, girl. And she's like, all right, so I'm gonna say this and this and this, and then we just go back and forth, and I'd be like, all right, this is how you say this acronym, this is how you say this. She literally looked for everyone to help her because she was smart enough to understand that my hustle will work, but I still need the knowledge of all the people around me. And I think that was the part that made me think, like, I never worried about her.
Never.
I always just like, dude, she's just gonna.
I never worried about Kaylee.
No.
She called us frequently. We called her. When we called, she answered. She kept in touch with us. She made, good choices, positive choices.
And she learned from the mistakes of others. Like I was the older sister and like made a lot of mistakes, and Kaylee was the one to really like sit down and be like, okay, you messed up here, Olivia. Like, can you tell me why you did this? Like walk through your thought process so I don't make that same mistake. And it just made me really proud of her to like not have her only like learn from her own mistakes and like make her own good decisions, but to be able to like look at those around her and, with love in her heart too, to be like, help me be better, because, she knew that's what we all wanted.
And you guys touched on something. I think we touched on it earlier at lunch. Going back to the night of the 12th, November 12th, and I think you hit, and I didn't even think of that perspective, but they did everything right.
Yeah.
And we discussed that, the buddy system. Explain all the things that they did.
Yeah, they Ubered out together. They only went to known locations that they had been before.
Private driver.
They had a private driver. I apologize. It was a private driver that they had actually used before, so they knew him. They had a relationship with this individual.
Knew him as a family member, and he really helped us.
Yeah.
He turned us on to the food truck stuff.
Yeah.
He was a great person.
Good people. And then we only went to like known locations with known people, traveled only together on well-lit, known streets to get food before taking a private ride from the same individual who would pick them up home to go eat after a night of drinking, being 21, Ubering out, Ubering home with your friend.
They were totally chaperoned.
And then going to bed.
They were doing everything the way that you tell your kid to go. You don't be two girls all by yourself. Have somebody there that can walk with you. Everything was perfect. Everything was good.
Yeah.
All the way up to where they went to bed and went to sleep.
Yeah.
And that I can't control. As a family, we can't control what happens when you go to sleep.
Yeah.
When you go to sleep, that's us as society. We have to determine, are we going to let these people be out here that can do whatever they did, sneak into a house, whatever it was? Are we going to allow that to be normal? Are we going to allow that to be okay?
Yeah.
Because we all go to bed at night.
Yeah, what was their flaw? They didn't have a nanny cam in their home? What could they have done to be more
They
safe?
didn't lock the door perfectly.
Yeah. You know, it's Moscow, Idaho, it's safe.
I wonder about the door because Kaylee was a door locker. She would come here, and so I question that all the time. Like, why wasn't the door locked? Why wasn't the door locked?
But that's not what society's built on. You don't say, oh, well, you didn't lock the door, so you deserve to die in your sleep.
Right. Yeah.
You don't do that. We have to make a society where these people show red flags, we identify them, we address them, and then we remove them from hurting other people.
The phone call the Goncalves family received on November 13th is one they'll never forget.
We were, it was Sunday around
We were watching football.
1-ish, and we were
like
watching
every
football.
family, or a lot of families on Sunday.
And then our son was here. Everybody was home, except for she was down at her home in LA.
We gather.
And my niece called me, and she was freaking out. And she said, Christy, have you talked to Kaylee? And I said, yesterday, like last night. And she said, something bad happened. Something bad happened. And she was just bawling. And I said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? And she said, I think Kaylee's dead. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she
all
said,
our stomachs just dropped.
She said there was somebody just called me and they live down there. She said there was a party last night and somebody went in and shot the party up and Kaylee was shot. I was like, what? And I just threw my phone. I started screaming. I started telling everybody to call Olivia and to get all her roommates on the phone. And I started calling Maddie, and Maddie wouldn't answer, and Maddie wouldn't answer. And I said, no, this can't be, because Maddie would have called me. If Kaylee was shot last night at a party, Maddie or Jack would have called me. Like, no, and I called Kaylee, and I went straight to voicemail. I was calling Maddie, I was calling Jack, it was ringing. I turned on the TV, and I saw it said 1122 King Road. Kaylee's car was in the driveway, Maddie's car was in the driveway, but it was saying an unconscious person. And I was saying, okay, maybe this isn't, like, maybe something happened. So Steve starts calling the police. Steven, our son, started calling the hospital, and he started calling the PD and saying, my name is Goncalves, and we heard that my daughter Kaylee Goncalves was killed in an accident, and they said, we can't give you any more information, we'll call you back. Well, next thing you know, some more phones started ringing. Our daughters came running down, 16 and 17 years old, came and said, Mom, somebody just called me and said that Kaylee's dead. And we're like, what? Like, who was it? She's like, I don't know. It's somebody that they're there and Kaylee's dead. And we were like, oh my God, like this can't be, and it just
That might have been the medical examiner. I'm not sure.
Very dramatic.
These protocols have to be updated.
Yeah.
These protocols of somebody showing up at your door 10 hours later is ridiculous.
Because we had hours of panic before the sheriff
It was
department.
terrible.
It was about 4:30, and
So you guys
4:30.
They never called you. You guys found this out from family members that were in the area, and you guys didn't get notified. You actually reached out to them, and you guys still didn't get notified.
He wound up calling them twice.
I get it. Their protocols are all about, like, maybe they'll commit suicide or something, but they have to be updated because social media moves so fast, so quick. That's why we are using social media. I'm not using the most common channels.
We called Karen, and we asked Karen if she had heard anything, and she goes, yes, I was told that I need to get down because there was an accident.
Was good. We
thought maybe Maddie was the unconscious person. And we had already been told by several people, like 100% Kaylee was dead. And we were like, and they're bawling. They're like,
Maddie was just unconscious.
And then we're like, but Karen got a call saying to come down there. We haven't got a call.
That was a good sign.
So we're like, oh.
And I kept giving them hope. I kept saying, if it happened last night, you guys would know by now. I kept giving them hope. I said, they just released an article that the roommates are being questioned right now. They probably took their phones, Mom. Like, I just kept giving them hope because I live in Los Angeles. It wasn't here. And that's all I could do. But like, it's just this feeling in your gut that like, I sat with.
I knew as soon as my niece, as soon as Sabrina called, I knew that it was real.
Yeah.
And she was freaking out.
And then cops showed up around 4:30.
Yeah, the sheriff came around 4:30, and then he told us that there were 4 victims, and we said, "Is one of them Maddie and Logan?" And he told us yes. And we realized that it was Kaylee and Maddie.
We still knew she was going down there. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, Karen was still on her way, and she
still driving.
And then she got down there, and she got there about 20 minutes after we got the news, and
Another person who is broken by the news of Kaylee's passing is her ex-boyfriend, Jack Decor. Not only has his life been picked apart, he's been scrutinized by social media.
You know in your heart he had nothing to do with this.
More than, I mean, even just logically, I think that a lot of people assume we're blinded by this individual, but contrary to that, we're very capable of removing our emotions for Jack, which is absolute love, and just looking at the situation logically, looking at this individual in front of us, looking at a pattern of behaviors of him that we've seen throughout 5-6 years. So emotionally, and in our hearts and in our heads and in every sense of the word, it's
Physics.
not
We did a job
thorough.
vetting him.
I asked him to, yes, like, did he have any scratches? Did he have any bruises?
Mm-hmm.
He came here immediately after it happened.
We can prove that he had none.
No, I checked his shoes.
Yeah.
I checked his car. I checked his hands.
I took photos.
I checked his neck.
Yeah.
He came over in shorts.
Yeah.
Within hours.
And he was happy for Kaylee.
Yeah.
Whether they were, I think they were close to getting back together. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were. Whether she was moving without him or not, he had nothing but love.
We went.
You could tell.
Investigated.
You can tell Steve likes him. They both like him, but
We went through that whole thing. Adam is about her trying to get back with Jack.
Day
Because they're
one.
roommates.
Day one of this all happening, Jack was right there in the trenches with me, reaching out to people Kaylee had called. Who is this?
The first 3 nights are on our couch after he came. He could not leave us.
That's why the FBI agent said, Steve, slow down.
Mm-hmm.
We realize you guys are ahead of us. We realize that you guys have this chain of thought and you're going where we're going. We're an organization and we have to check it a little bit slower than you. And you're just ripping through it and you're ready to tell everyone. He's like, slow down.
And I know it sounds weird that we asked him to show us his arms and stuff if we trusted him so much, but I mean, I think that
people, I think people would look at you negatively if that wasn't the reaction.
and I said, and I looked him in his eyes and he was crying and I was crying. I said, I'm so sorry.
We hate doing this to you, but we have
But
to.
can you broke his heart?
Yeah.
And he was just like,
Nobody's
yes,
sticking up for
like,
me.
lifted up
And
his
we
shirt.
were sticking up for him.
And I said, okay.
We're not
I'm
blind,
so sorry.
stupid parents.
Yeah. But I'm sorry when your child meets her demise.
And it did not make me feel good either. But I mean, I was just like.
But when people are like, how do we stick up for him blindly? We're not blind.
No.
Yeah.
We have
And we know that
done
kid's
our
heart.
due diligence. We
We know
have
his
looked this up.
family.
He's been around my babies when my babies were born. He would watch them for me so that I could go to the grocery store by myself.
Right.
He had nothing but love for Kaylee and Maddie.
The thing that got me is I love that woman I've been married 27 years with. I've lost my cool. I've said things I shouldn't say. My daughter broke up with him, and within a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, she had an interaction with a date. She said, call me a bitch. And she was like, I've been with one boy my whole life.
And I said, he's never called you. And she's like, never, Mom. And I said, really? And she goes, never. And he said, you could go make me a quesadilla. And she said, what did you say? And she said, I'm leaving. And she goes, and I left. And I went home like, oh, Jack.
She's like, I might not ever find another Jack.
And I'm like, you might not. And I said, honestly.
We would always tell her that, yeah.
Because she's like, she knows I'm a flawed guy, but we're still married 27 years, have 5 kids, we live a happy life. She's like,
that hair.
Definitely call me some names.
I think it happens in any relationship.
But
But it's always the people that drive you up the wall and the ones you love the most.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, she said net, and I was just like, she's like, never.
Yeah.
Never. And I was
We're
just
supposed
like,
to believe he just takes out 4 on his way to. It just seems like a
Over
huge-
want custody of the dog. Like there's just
It wasn't all
Kaylee
that.
was leaving.
He was looking for every excuse for him to pick the phone up.
Yes.
To read those texts. Like,
There were people, seriously, there was a creator on this platform that had a picture of where Jack was staying and had an arrow pointing to it, telling her inciting for her subscribers to go to his house. I couldn't believe some of the stuff that I heard and saw when this case was brand new. And I'm not going to say we didn't have our suspicions about people. You know, we talked about things, we talked things through, but it would literally be talking things right out. We would talk ourselves right out of it. Now, does this guy look like nah, I don't know. I don't see it. Didn't see it
I
then
don't
either.
eat tonight with the dog if you don't.
Austin said Jack literally has almost no eyebrows.
That
Oh,
That's true.
And they even when they broke up, they still communicated.
Yes,
it
every
sounds
day,
like
all the
it's
time.
like you know,
The whole time
and
she
in
was
that
home.
bar
it
scene,
was just a
they were around him.
Yeah.
Not Miss Jackson over here in the corner. No, she was around her ex, you know, and to me, that's comfort level. That's body language. This is the person that I'm comfortable in.
Talked to him about the conversation that night. We talked to the other guy about the conversation that went on that night, and they both, you know, they were just like, hey, what's been up? How you been doing? You know, what's been going on? And she was trying to talk him into going to another bar down the street or something like that. And he's like, I worked all day. I'm tired. I'm going home. And he left and went home. And, you know, we think things could have been different.
We questioned
but, you
the
know,
time in that video.
That
We're not
time
sure if
stamp.
it's accurate. So people might look at that and take it to, based off of the records that we have, there could definitely be some questions on the timing of that.
Right.
For sure. But I will just say, I can't verify the timestamp there, but I know for a fact that after they left the corner club, they walked to the grub truck. It's about an 8-minute walk, so we need to factor that in. And then they ordered food. They were at the grub truck for about 10 minutes, and they didn't leave the grub truck until the Uber driver had arrived at 1:49.
And those
So
cameras
if you
would
work
suggest-
backwards, that timestamp doesn't match up.
I
So
would suggest.
I don't know. I'm not going to say it's completely false or anything or how false it is. I don't know. But I'm saying from the timeline that I know for a fact, working it backwards doesn't match that timestamp.
Gotcha.
and it had just been daylight savings, so maybe they hadn't updated their cameras or something.
We are not going to go to bed and wait for other people to resolve a family problem. This is a family problem. And
This isn't just
both those girls are our girls, and we are not, I'm not handing over. I thought about it. I thought, like, here, just take care of my family and make sure that you find the right guy. And I eventually got to a point and said, you know what? My family, we're all G's. We call ourselves G's. Nobody can pronounce our name. We are not going to sit here and let somebody else do a job that we can't add value to.
Well, you guys have added value. I mean,
Yes.
you, Olivia, found the Twitch video that actually solidified the timeline.
We watched the ring video that showed them pulling up, and we're like, that's them. It's 1:56. That's what time they got home. And there's the car leaving, and yeah.
So we're working.
And I have my phone, Kaylee's phone is my phone, so we saw all the calls that she had made, and we with an exact time. And
I reached out to every person she called. I had them send screenshots of the communications that had happened on that day, of texts with my sister, of the call with my sister. How long was your phone conversation with her? Just to do whatever I could in those first few hours, because unfortunately, by the time we even found out, they've been gone for more than 12 hours.
What America needs to know is you can be a victim all the way up to the point where you just hand it all off, or you can say, you know what? We have a moment in time to make an impact, do our due diligence, listen to what people are saying, write down deep notes, and you can be a part of solving it and work on it. Anyone who thinks that one officer or one department can do this alone, 4 people, they're crazy.
Yeah.
This takes the whole community. This takes all of us to solve. We can't put this on one man, one officer, one police person, one deputy, one sheriff. We have to all come together and say, you know what, this is on us. Are we going to let these people exist and go undetected? Or are we all going to come together and say, this is enough? We are going to stomp this guy out of our community. And I'm telling you right now, we're coming for you. You're going to get stomped out.
Yeah, I feel like America is behind us on this one. I mean, it started with, the community, and then Idaho, and then United States. And And I mean, it is just insane. I mean, I have people from Amsterdam.
Yeah, I was going to say it's worldwide now because I've got people that are in my chats from all over.
Finland, little countries in Asia and Africa. It's insane.
The only role that we can play is to keep this hot. Then that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sit there and say I have the tech that the FBI does. I'm not going to say I'm smarter than these people or anything like that. But I'm saying our role as a family is it's ebbing, it's flowing, it's molding. It's this one day, it's this another day. And we are there for whatever that is. But it's never going to be for us to sit back and do just nothing. You know, if it's pushing, if it's letting off the gas, if it's, you know, going down to Moscow, going door to door, asking for cameras, asking for testimony, whatever it is, we're not going to stop.
This is a small community, and we're not gonna let this become normal. We're not gonna let this become normal.
No, you don't go to sleep at night and somebody sneaks in your house.
You don't go to sleep at night not knowing at the end of the day you did absolutely everything you could have that day. To just your own capabilities. You know, I'm not saying go out there and you need to do a bunch of crazy shit. I'm not saying that.
Or yell at other people that they didn't do it.
Right.
You're
but
doing
to
yourself.
do whatever you can yourself so that you can go to bed at night saying, Kaylee and Maddie, I still got you.
Still gotta sleep, but
I still got you. Sometimes it's media, sometimes it's
because
not.
they don't have a voice anymore.
They don't. But it doesn't mean that it stops where it
it's a
stops.
new way to find justice.
I'm honored that, Steve, that you reached out to me a few weeks ago via email, and I just wanted to know, like, what made you reach out to me, or how did you kind of find me, or just kind of curious on that?
I was looking at Kaylee's footprint on the internet. I'm an IT guy, and I noticed that she had followed some crime type investigators, and I found you, and I was looking through your content, and I was like, all right, this is somebody that she definitely was way more committed to than just a hit or two or a subscription. So I was like, I need to figure out what case she was looking at. I started looking at the case that she was following with you, and then I was like, I'm going to reach out because I want
She'll help us.
Kaylee. Maybe she can help resolve Kaylee's story. They were already working together for other people's stories, but maybe this can help resolve her own story, which is just terrible that this happened to her. But that was the daughter I had. She wanted to help other families find this justice. So if I could find somebody else who already she wanted to work with, then that's the person I want to help solve this case.
She always tried to get me to. Like, I'm not a podcast person. I don't talk. I don't listen to. And she'd always tell me, you know, and I'm like, yeah. You know, I just turn on the radio. You know, AM station all the way over.
And the crazy part about, I think, all of it for us too is that, you know, we never talked to Kaylee about, like, how would you on your funeral?
No.
So a lot of these decisions we're making in the dark. So when we can find those personal connections, it feels like a natural path to go down because it feels like Kaylee guided us. You know, this is Kaylee approved. I'll say it in my head, you know, like I'll have a text from her that says, I love oranges, you know, this is Kaylee approved. It wasn't that we didn't know her, it's that there's so many questions and answers you have to answer for at the end that you just don't realize. So to see, you know, Chronicles of Olivia, and she had commented on your videos and followed you and had told me, oh, you gotta get TikTok. Her name's Chronicles of Olivia. You know, you gotta follow her.
She definitely did, yeah.
It
That's
feels
sweet.
like a personal connection for us to her.
And that's more important than
anything.
advertising.
For us to do right by Kaylee, that's all that matters. If we felt doing right by Kaylee was, you know, to lay down and take this, we would do that.
Or just
but that's not her.
viewership or all this stuff that's so important to people. That's how we raised our family. We didn't care about that. We still don't care about that. So we're trying to just
Make
go
her
by our
proud.
gut feeling in her life, and if that can play a role in solving this crime, then that makes it a lot better. That helps with the process of healing.
And that's another thing I want to say is I really admire your family for being in the spotlight and not being like afraid and not just kind of walking away. And you guys are awesome. Like, I don't even know how to describe it.
We are afraid.
Inspiring.
We are worried. People tear us apart. We are definitely worried, and they do tear us apart, but it's not.
It doesn't matter.
That's not as important as our daughter's justice. Our daughter's justice is so much. Like, I might not be employable for 100 years.
I might have blackballed myself as well.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter, you know, because there's just so much.
Have to have justice.
It's so much bigger than us now, you know, and we would give everything for it every day, everything every day for the rest of our lives for it. Because Kaylee would do it for us. Anyone, Maddie would do it for us. You know,
all of our children would do it for us, but to know what she went through, and to think that I can just pretend like I've done enough.
Yeah.
She went through absolutely a nightmare in our head.
Terrible, pure terror.
So then we have to tell ourselves, if we do that kind of effort, and I think that's the new way to figure out how to get through this, because we're finding out there's a lot of cases that are cold.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cases that are cold. People think just shut up and listen. Guess what? There's those parents are calling me right now and saying, don't be quiet.
Yeah.
Don't make the same mistake I made.
Don't let it die.
You need to be vocal. You need to be uncomfortable. You need to take heat. You need to take risk. You might not be employable, but you might get, you could get justice with that. And that's what we're willing to do.
And those are other victims' parents that have reached out to you.
Yes,
some of their
other victims literally saying, I follow the rules. I did everything to a T. Multiple times these parents have came out and said, my case went cold. So I'm thinking, if it goes cold, I'm going to say I gave it my all. I did everything I could.
And we're not trying to say we're not going to follow the rules. We're just saying you need new rules, because obviously the ones that you're using aren't working in every case. So we're going to do what's right by us.
Family told us our baby was dead.
Yeah.
6 hours later, they tell us those rules aren't working.
Yeah.
Media goes so fast. So yeah, we're gonna play with a little bit more. I'm an IT guy. We're gonna play with some more new modern rules.
Yeah. What would you say to other parents that may have something like this in the future? What would be your number one tip or piece of advice that you would share with those parents?
We almost tried to put together an organization just for this, because after we went through it, you learn how much you don't know, and we are self-motivated and highly, engaged people. So we were trying to think about it's almost like you need a pamphlet to say, hey, this is what's going to happen. But
I just feel like we're still so early into it, And
I think I would say,
don't be quiet.
Don't be quiet if you have the ability to not be. And most importantly, above all of that, is you have to do right by your loved one, whatever that means. And that's different for everyone.
Interview me.
Yeah.
Nobody knows your child more than you. And every officer should look at you and say, tell me what your child's life looked like. How did she wake up? What time did she sleep in bed all day?
Yeah.
Did she wake up?
What did she normally wear to bed? Was she wearing something different?
All
crazy?
pertinent.
So yeah, I would just say you just have to do what's right by them. And if that's, they would want you to just move on and let them, that's absolutely fine. And if they would want you to stay up every day,
Kaylee would
grinding,
not. She'd be like, you all better be hitting the streets and finding this person for me and Maddie.
Right.
Aubrey, where are you? Aubrey, where are you?
And I wish that we had just had
Take Murphy with you.
A stronger hand guiding us through that, and helping us to say, this is someone to talk to, this isn't someone, just so that interview, people might say this afterwards, because I feel like we just felt like we'd been hit by a truck, and then it just kept coming back, because we just kept trying.
But no, every time you talk, you will take more heat. They'll have less patience for you. So you have to be prepared for that mentally, because I don't want to give somebody advice that is actually very hard.
People are going to think,
why she said that, or did she smile because she said that, or did you see the way they looked at each other when they said,
Yeah, you will become a internet sleuth suspect, whether you live 1,200 miles away like I did or not, and it hurts. And so you have to either just completely ignore it or not look at it, or get some thick skin fast.
I just don't even look at it. I did for the first week or so, and it just absolutely consumed me. And a good friend said, get off of it. Just get off of it. And I said, you're right. And I was in all the little forums on Facebook, and I just unouted myself. And I told her, I said, I can't see people chew up my daughter, chew him up and chew me up. And
I'm in every group I can be. I monitor every post,
You are a
every
very strong,
comment. She's
strong
my hero.
young woman.
She's my every single one, because what if he slips up? What if he's in one of those groups? What if he says something that's a little too close that gives me a bad feeling?
That's why
it's a long shot, but it's what I can do. I can take that time. I can read this book. I'm physically capable of doing that, so I will.
One thing I would give to another father, if you have a role in that family, that you are the guy that's taking a leadership role in that family. You've always been there. We've been married for 27 years. I would suggest that you don't underestimate yourself. Don't let yourself be so small that you're scared to question the police officer and say, why didn't you ask me about these things? You need to engage them. You need to be aggressive. You need to go in there and say, you know what? I know about that dog. I know about her favorite shirt, her favorite dress, her favorite shoes. It might seem stupid, but as a father, I know my girl. And I think that information, even if 80% of it is invaluable, 90% something there, could tell those officers if your daughter was behaving in a suspicious way, like she felt uncomfortable, or if she was totally in a comfort zone. And we can see it. We see the video. We're like, oh, she's totally comfortable. But the world looks at it and they turn it into like, she's super uncomfortable. So
why did she say carbonara like that?
Spend time with Daddy and hope your shoulder feels better.
We thanked Kaylee's family for sharing the precious memories they had with the girls, as well as sharing the difficult moments they've had since this tragedy. Before leaving, Christy showed us Kaylee and Maddie. Their ashes are in urns that stand side by side. This is a sight I will never forget, forever etched in my memory. I really hope the 4 victims will get justice, and whoever stole their lives away will be held accountable.
Okay. Let me put the link for that video back in the chat one more time, just in case you guys want to watch it again. Or if you came later. My mic was echoing? Shouldn't be. I don't know if I don't have the echo one, but yeah, echo cancellation's on. Shouldn't be echoing. But that's all the videos I really have for tonight. A lot of the videos with the Goncalves family, like some of them will be like, I'll get like shorter clips, like 4 or 5 minute videos, but then they go on like and do longer videos, you know, like the documentary and stuff like that. So those will like kind of, you know, I guess, I don't know, split them up a little bit. But I did get added to a couple groups for the Moscow case. And sorry, it's like there was like a noise. That's weird. I'm on a second floor. But I forget what I was even saying now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's gone. It's gone. It's forgotten. But I did want to give you guys, I want to tell you guys this. I didn't go over this tonight, but we'll go over it tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to cover, Nancy Grace came out with a new video on Bryan Kohberger. Apparently his mom is doing some stuff, doing some things. She's doing the most of stuff. I don't know what she thinks she's doing, but I want to pull a couple things that I know that she's put out on the internet, and I want to grab some stuff before I show it to you. And then Drunk Turkey did the interview with Mr. Gonzalez, and I'm going to go through tomorrow and listen to the rest of it. I listened to a little bit today, but I want to take notes on all the key points that he makes. And then if I need to grab any other articles or anything to corroborate or, whatever, we'll do that as well. So we'll do all of that on tomorrow's. We're adding to some groups. Thanks, Southern Dish. So I was added to like a couple of the Idaho groups. I never went and when Idaho first started, I never went and got included in these, in the Facebook groups. I don't know why I'm not much of a Facebooker, I guess you'd say, but I wanted to, I wanted to. So that way, if we see something, and it is so crazy because I went over to Drunk Turkey last night, remember? And I said, I'm going to subscribe to him. He uses his song for his starting of his music is my video music that I use on my videos, the same song. And I'm like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? I was like, how did we but pick the same song? I mean, there's literally thousands of songs, thousands, but we just must like the same kind of music. So I was like, I'm keeping it. I have like 3 songs I could play that I downloaded. So, I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal, but it's not like my song for this one or anything. But then we have 3 for this channel. And I use one for lives, one for videos, and then one for like members or if we do the other channel. So. Oh, they can get your person. Yeah, I guess they could. Thanks, Southernish. Yeah, I guess they could. Yeah, that's true. I just put everything under TitaniumBuilt. But if you go to my YouTube or my Facebook, I'm not going to lie. You're going to see pictures of me when I was like 19, 20, 21, 23. Like, I mean, like, who wants to see that? Nobody. No one wants to see me when I was that young. Because then you guys are going to come back here and be like, oh, dang, girl, you aged. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think, well, he had 2 guys that were with him, and then he doesn't have anything, right? You ain't mean anything to me? No. Oh, you mean like I was like, no, she doesn't. What does she have? I know, I get what you're saying now. I'm like, because she's sneaky like that. Thanks, they exist. I appreciate that. That the IDs weren't. Ooh, then I wonder whose they were if they were IDs. I'm wondering. I could put it on now, but I'll probably fall asleep. I'm just reading the chat. But he does seem like a really good guy. And I heard his dog attacked him a while back. Man, I was praying for him. Tomorrow, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I think that I think Drunk Turkey's a good guy. He seems like he's a decent guy, Good music, I guess he has good, yeah, I'm like, I guess he has, good taste in music. Cause like Vincent poked on his video today and I was like, because his desk is right here, and I was like, that's my music. What are you playing? Hold on a second over there. But it's okay. I don't mind. I mean, like, he doesn't know me and I don't know him, but it's just so funny that we're both a true crime channel covering Idaho 4 and we have the same song. So I guess it's a good song. When you want to buy something cheap on Marketplace, oh my gosh, Marketplace. I have so much stuff I need to sell on Marketplace, but I hate for people to come here, But yeah, make sure you're here. I'll be here at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow is Saturday, so it's going to be a good show. We're going to go over, it's going to be like a Saturday recap, if you will. So we're going to recap everything that we kind of went over this week with Bryan Kohberger, like more of the updates, like, the new stuff, not like the interviews as much. But his mom says some stuff. There was some stuff in the new court filings that we went through last night with Dylan, seeing Xana on the floor and things of that nature. So there's a lot of stuff to go through. And then, of course, Steve's interview. So I'll make sure I'm back on here at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to see you guys. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Don't forget, I wanted to remind you, because you guys don't know this, I wanted to remind you, I'm going to do a live. I want to do a members live within the next few days. So it'll either be this weekend or Monday morning, afternoon. But I'm going to try to make it this weekend. That way more people can come if they'd like to. And I'll make sure that I put it out on the community tab a couple hours in advance. That way you guys know that will be doing it. So have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out.